As we prepare for the end of day remarks, we are going to be hearing from Mr. Pat Phelan and some of his organized reporters for the breakout session. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Patrick Phelan, and if Linda Sorrento's in the room, I would like to invite her up to the stage, please. Yes. Take it away.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, this is the nearly final thing. So we have a quick breakout report out here. So that's what this is all about. And so just to get right to it, I'm just going to hand the microphone over. Actually, we have two microphones. Let's use those. And take it away. Please introduce yourself first.
Sure. Okay. My name is Margot Younger. I'm with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I sit in the Division of Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity. And my table had a great conversation on energy, health, and sustainable communities. And so I'll try to summarize some of the points. One of the main kind of ideas we talked about was how to engage the health insurance companies, and really, because they're kind of a huge missing piece, you know, when we talk about energy efficiency and renewable sources, just really how to engage the health insurance market, because that market is kind of missing from the conversation, and we know that they're not going to really be engaged unless we talk about how we're engaging, you know, them, how it makes good business sense for them to be engaged as well. So one of the main things was, instead of necessarily doing a research project, maybe asking them, reaching out to the health insurance companies and really asking what kind of research they need to be engaged in this nexus of energy efficiency and, you know, the positive health outcomes we're looking for. So that was one piece that we talked about. The other was around utility companies. Right now they're pretty fragmented. And we talked about, one of the main ideas was around expanding cost effectiveness tests to include other things. So right now the main focus is just really on the energy efficiency piece. And energy output and things like that, and including other things like health. Right now it's very narrowly focused and trying to expand it beyond just the energy piece for those utility companies. We talked about one of the main priorities would be about retrofitting, so how to get these things in existing buildings, not really new construction, but the current kind of building stock that exists, and particularly in existing homes. And then the focus would be also on the most vulnerable populations, like the elderly and children and things like that, and kind of getting at the equity piece that's been kind of talked about throughout the conference. So from anyone from my team, did I leave anything else out that folks want to mention? Okay, there's a microphone behind you.
Thank you. My name is Li Yang. I think we are in this society, if we are doing capitalism, we must encourage competition, not really select one industry after another and let them decide what we should do. Second is I strongly support the idea of existing building, because what we are doing now, they just abolish all the existing building and build a new one without really considering the cost benefit and really not benefit the homelessness. Instead, they do the other way around. They create a homelessness rather than affordable housing. So I think that's very important. We should not focus on privatization or even public-private partnership, because that's only rhetoric, because actually they are extreme fraud and crime operation. What I say is including murder, separation, and destroy our family and democracy, make the whole society, our system rigged and election rigged. We have to protect our society and families. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's give a round of applause.
So we had my name is Dee, and we had a great group. We had advocates, we had HYBR organizers, we had people studying development, we had people with medical experience. It was a really diverse and interesting group. And we talked at length about the idea of the business model. One of the things that we all kind of agreed on is that we're not experts on the business model, and so we tried to conceptualize the business model. We were talking about the measurement of human health was our main topic, and we decided that the thought that we were really interested in was how the role of HYBR could be advancing this measurement of human health. And we started to think about HYBR as an institution that could connect needs and different institutions that want to study and measure human health in buildings to the relevant resources, the relevant knowledge, and then facilitate the right level of study for that. We also were talking about how, as a business model, we might also have a lens that could be applied to the idea of the study about how different models could be profitable, and how we could sort of just underscore the idea of return on investment around things that are a little bit hard to quantify. So it's hard to come up with a quick fix or a quick return on investment, and so HYBR sort of could play that role in this business model. Some other things that we talked about were in terms of resources and the amount of time it would take to implement. And we came up with this idea of a 2-year regional design challenge that could also include some engagement with industry and the sort of innovation labs that are common at academic institutions right now. We had a lively discussion, and it was really an exciting group. There were a lot of ideas. We really wanted to think about something that could happen in the 2 years between events. Can my group chime in if there's things that I missed? Got it? Got it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And a round of applause. Oh, you're skipping. Okay, wow. Here we go. I didn't know it was on. All right. This one is actually, the category would really be on health. So it really is a meta category kind of involving electromagnetic fields, imagining the future, indoor air quality, measurement methods, and water and moisture. And what the general, talking about ROI, or return on investment, the general concept is if someone has a chronic health condition, like they spoke about this morning with asthma, they had an environmental hygienist go out and assess the building. That seems like common sense. It's just not happening. So if there is some sort of chronic health condition, and there are so many of these right now, which are really, there are developmental delays, ADHD, autism, fatigue, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, dysautonomia, adrenal insufficiency, fatigue. So, if we use a industrial hygienist or a building biologist and environmental physicians to assess the building and the individual to really get to the root cause of the problem, whether it's mold or toxic chemicals or EMF or physiological issues with the person, an injury, this could really help save costs and get to the root issues, let's see, what did I say? To reduce healthcare and educational costs. Again, this is not just health, but this is dramatically rising up costs for education and special education with the developmental delays. Now, for question 2, we thought, what can we do in the short-term research-wise? And on animal and human studies on environmental exposures. Again, a complete list, a very comprehensive list of mold, mycotoxins, solvents, EMF, toxic chemicals. Again, it can be all magnetic, magnetic fields, electric fields, dirty electricity, wireless radiation,
and to see what their effects are on the autonomic nervous system, on diabetes, obesity, addiction to stimulants, alcohol, opioids, and some of these other crises, ADHD and autism. So it's kind of a broad swath, but there are some common fundamental issues like inflammation that contribute to chronic disease. And so there are some incredible rising costs here, and I don't think even the cost saving as they go right now with insurance and healthcare costs, it's not really sustainable, and I think we really do have to address these things at the root issue. And this group kind of has the key to some of these key elements.
And our final group.
Thank you. So we went in a lot of different directions, but I think some things that stuck were how to further incentivize and motivate both the public and private sector to really engage in healthy building practices. So, we talked a lot about taxes and incentives that exist at the local, state, and federal levels today, and if that's enough. And I think the conclusion is no. And if it is no, which it is, what can be done? What type of research is needed to get us there, to further develop incentives and new funding mechanisms to support these practices? And so we talked a little bit about data collection, an idea of a pilot program that would capture a concentration of different projects across different project types, new and existing buildings, affordable housing, schools, et cetera, to have as demonstration projects, but also to collect data in the process to really uncover the benefits. I think, especially in our work, we focus so much on the commercial benefits and the positive outputs of healthier buildings, but not so much on the negative implications or the consequences of not building a healthier building. So I think that we talked a lot about different ideas there that could drive more pressure on both sides. I think I also talked about communicating the ROI, figuring out new ways to communicate the ROI to the private sector as well to increase shareholder value, having those different types of conversations. And then, let's see here. Oh, and by the way, ours was energy, health, and sustainable communities. Let's see. That's kind of it. Did I miss anything from my group? No.
All right, thanks so much. That concludes our session. Thank you all to our spokespeople here. We really appreciate it. And we'll go to our closing remarks now by Michelle.